Cool. All right. So, guys, I am here with Brandon, um, who has been crushing it in cold email. And yeah, I guess we're just going to go through a few campaigns, share some tips with you. Oh, wow. We just jumped up to 62 people. Okay. A bunch of you just poured in then. So,
Gee. Yeah,
yeah, let me
that's
know if you guys can hear me in the chat. I'll kind of moderate and if you want to ask questions and stuff. But just to yeah, kick it off, tell us about, I guess your background, Brendan, in terms of it seems like cold emails your main thing, right?
yes, yes. I've definitely transitioned to being more of a data as a service kind of model.
Mm.
But cold email is really where I got my start in this area. Cold email and I guess email marketing in general is where I've made most of my bread and butter when it comes to marketing.
Mhm.
Before I had my marketing company, I owned a business in the wellness space where basically nurses were going to your house and giving you an IV bag full of fluids, vitamins, minerals, and stuff like that. I grew that company to 38 different states. I was working with over 670 providers across the country. Um, and I had it kind of on a franchise type of model where nurses and other healthcare providers could opt in and start offering these services themselves. So I did all of this during the COVID pandemic, and I ended up selling my business at a profit after about 3 years. And at its peak, we were doing about 465,000 a month, just in subscription revenue and what's it called, product revenue. So it was pretty good, and I built that business mostly off of email marketing. I was able to utilize LinkedIn to scrape emails and then build a system to start reaching out to these nurses and let them know, during the time of the pandemic when they were being used and abused by the hospitals. All the nurses were looking for some other way to make money, and when I showed them that through email marketing, it was right place, right time, and my business just blew up. Right, so that's a little bit of my backstory. After I sold that business about 3 years ago, I decided to lean a little bit heavier into marketing. So I built a marketing team doing email marketing, doing some of the traditional marketing stuff like Facebook ads, Google ads, TikTok ads, and then email marketing was kind of the big thing. And I had been a part of Audience Lab a little bit before that when I had owned my last business. And then, Adam, I got to say, all the updates you've made to Audience Lab, all the things that you guys have done, it's a night and day difference. And I wish that I had had the Audience Lab that exists today back when I had my last business, because it would have just been absolutely insane. So I've leaned into the email marketing. I've leaned into using data, especially the verified data, for not only myself but for my clients.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's killer. Yeah, I think I was just looking at, I mean, can I share that case study that you had? I think that was really cool. I mean, so what you
Sure.
you sent 500,000 scraped emails, LinkedIn and Apollo, and you closed 9 deals, and then you switched to intent data, and you had 23 deals. So almost about a 8 times return, which is fantastic. And that was only 5,000 intent leads, which is insane. I think the biggest thing people would love to know, walk us through your process. I mean, um, the thing about Audience Lab is, there's so much stuff you can do. And I think I was actually speaking to the team yesterday, as I was telling Brendan, I sort of flew two of my team members out to meet me in person, and we were just kind of working, and we are seeing like, what business are we in? Are we in the data business? Or are we in the business of a cold email? Are we in the business of, and it's kind of like we're really in the business of everything. So we're going to start kind of knocking it over domino by domino. But with cold email, I think the biggest thing, well, first of all, so you're doing B2B cold email? Gotcha.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. So B2B cold
We
email.
Yeah, I don't even, in the beginning, I used to say, okay, hey, yeah, I can help everybody with cold email. I learned my lesson really quick that B2C is not something that that is very effective for cold email unless I'm sending millions and millions of emails per month. And even then, the return on investment for the kind of infrastructure that you need to build to be able to send that amount of emails, it's not as lucrative as I'd like it to be. So I don't even touch it unless it's B2B.
Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I can see Laura is here, who's from Perry Belcher's mastermind, and she's been using our newsletter strategy to because pretty much if you're doing B2C cold email, and I think this is really important for everyone here, write this down in your notes. If you're doing B2C cold email, you are starting a newsletter. Okay. It doesn't matter what product you're in, doesn't matter how good the data is, you are starting a newsletter. Because if you look at the last time you bought something directly from a cold email to your personal email, you probably haven't. So we're
Yeah.
going to do a whole workshop on that because I've got a ton of people that are crushing it on newsletters. And the cool thing about newsletters is you can grow them. It's just this perpetual way to generate clients and then you can sell them. So we were actually, I just had one of my guys just flew out to Thailand to meet Perry Belcher and go over some of the stuff on newsletters. And yeah, he mentioned you, Laura, that you were crushing it with your newsletter. So I think we'll get you on next. But in terms of the B2B, let's focus on B2B for today. I think so walk us through your process. So the first thing people always ask me is, was it pre-mades you were using or was it keywords or was it a custom model?
It was keywords. It was
Okay.
keywords. I'm happy to share kind of how I do my keyword stuff. I actually use ChatGPT,
Mm,
and I've created a chat within ChatGPT where I basically tell it, I give it all the background information that I can. I say, hey, I'm utilizing a system that is able to find buyer intent. It has all these different data parameters. And the way that the kind of people that I want to look for are ones that are visiting the websites that have certain types of SEO, right? As websites that are optimized for XYZ. So I straight up ask ChatGPT to give me anywhere from 25 to 30 keyword combinations that someone might search if they were looking for XYZ. And once I created that first chat within ChatGPT, it's so easy to just say, okay, hey, let's do it for this industry. Let's do it for this buyer intent. Let's do it for this buyer intent. So ChatGPT spits out those keywords for me, and I just copy and paste directly into directly into Audience Lab. I do a little bit of proofreading to see if any of it is just completely off topic or out of the range there. Best example I can think of for that is the insurance industry. If my client is looking for people that are interested in term insurance and ChatGPT spits out something on whole life
mm,
insurance, then I'm gonna take that keyword out.
yeah.
But so I run the keywords that ChatGPT gives me, and then I do a good amount of due diligence with the audience refinement, and stuff that I've learned about your system. Adam, there's some things that you can check the box on, but if you check the box on that one, you shouldn't check the box, on this one there, or it'll mess up the amount of data that comes through. So I'm very educated, and I'm happy to talk about that, on this webinar if you guys want, for my process, how I go through that. But basically, I define what the ideal client is, and I use the keywords that ChatGPT gives me, and that's the data that I get. And typically, for depending on the client, I'll get 10, 20, 30,000 results from that, and we'll run that through the system. We only use the deep verified. I've noticed that the deep verified only accounts for about 10 to 20% of the data that comes through, so we keep that in an account when we're doing our email blasts and email campaigns. That if we want to send out 10,000 emails per month, we need to make sure that every week we're able to generate around 50,000 leads, because only 10 to 20% of them are going to have a deep verified email, because we only use the deep verified emails from your system.
That do you scrub them again or you just send right off them?
We scrubbed them the first time,
Yeah.
and it was like it gave us like 98% of good to go. So we were just like, all right, well, that was a waste of time and money and tokens. So we just uploaded the next one, and across the board, we're seeing less than 5% bounce rate.
Oh, fantastic. I think with the Deep, because we were rolling that out as like a kind of, so Deep is our own email validation engine. I think when we were looking at, because we were assessing Million Verifier, we were talking to Bounce Ban, all these other guys, and it got to the point where we're like, let's just acquire a small verify company that we knew were kind of like the goats behind catch-all verification. And then yeah, and then we're like, let's just acquire that. When I say acquire, this company just exited. So we're able to just basically buy all the code base, everything. And then we just built our own verifier. And it's so far results are really good. So we're actually about to at the moment we were, we were like, should we go all in on Deep to verify both the personal and business emails? But now the results are coming in and we're seeing people, I see average about 1 to 5%. Usually people are around under 1% bounce rate. It depends where they're sending from, but yeah, we're about to scale up to about 10 million a day on Deep. So that metric will grow. So it should be about 25% of all emails will be Deep, and then about 30%, 45%. It's a pretty strict protocol. So, but the thing is, it does catch all. So if you compare that, like if you compare that to Million Verifier or any other verifier, you're going to see that they'll just be like, oh, this is a catch all, you can't use it. But about 30 to 40% of any catch all list is actually a good email. Like it's a real business. So that's dope. So I mean, Deep is something where I like really wanted to, because when we were exploring email validation, I think a hot topic is like triple verified kind of thing. And that basically just means it's verified across 3 different providers. SMTP, which is, it's just the same thing, basically. It's like doing the same thing. It's like 3 times. So that's dope. So you took that, and then you get the Deep emails. We're about to add that filter too, because now we're like, okay, Deep's the way to go. And that protocol is really solid. We're going to push it across the whole list and then just have a little tick where you can just pull those out. So walk me through, I guess, are you using Instantly, or what are you using to send the emails?
No, so I have 2 different levels of email marketing for my clients that I do. I call it, small scale and large scale. Small scale is anything less than 100,000 emails a month. I'm able to use, yes, I like Instantly, but to me, Instantly is kind of clunky. I use a program called Reach Inbox. Reach Inbox, Smart Lead, and Instantly are kind of the main ones. So yeah, Reach Inbox is what I use. And the best thing about that, I'm giving away my entire business here. I don't really care though. If you guys want to go and copy it, go for it. Reach Inbox integrates with a company called Zapmail.ai. And with Zapmail, you're able to get, $3 Google inboxes. So you can create them at scale. And the reason I use Reach Inbox / Zapmail.ai for smaller systems is because, for a 10,000 email per month system, you're going to have 12 inboxes if you're using the formula correctly, which is, 1 or 3 inboxes per 1 domain. So if you have, if you want to run 10,000 emails a month, you're going to need 4 domains, 12 inboxes total. So if you just run that all the way up to 100,000, you're going to have 40 domains and 120 inboxes. That's about the limit that I would do that for, and it's going to be pretty pricey too. You're talking about like 120 times $3. So I guess it's not too bad. I mean, I'm gonna have $360 worth of inboxes. Plus you got to buy all the domains for that. So relatively small cost to entry to get in there. But once you start talking about like, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, or even 1 million emails plus per month, you should really start looking at having your own SMTP server. You should really look at doing some custom programming for that. Not necessarily using one of the out of the box solutions that's out there. There's a few of them out there. But for me and my partners, we've got about 12 different email servers that we physically own, and we're able to program the system from that. When we're doing large scale, which to me is anything over 100,000 emails per month, we're going to use our own servers for that. But if we are doing small scale, which is less than 100,000 emails per month, we'll just do the domain and Gmail inbox method. And actually, we've started switching over to the domain and Outlook method, because Outlook is able to
Mm.
message other Outlook accounts without getting as scrutinized as much. So an Outlook through Zapmail.ai is also only, I think it's only like $3 per inbox per month. So instead of paying a boatload of money for those inboxes, you can get it pretty damn cheap through if you're using Zapmail and Reach Inbox.
Yeah, I've heard of that, Mal, and no, that's great. I think it's like, is that similar to Thor's hammer, whatever, where they were doing like a lot of you can buy in bulk for the different Outlook accounts.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned Thor's hammer. I actually just spoke to a prospective client today that is using Thor's hammer. Um, we've noticed something on his cold email campaigns that might be an issue. Thor's hammer is reporting, like 98% deliverability, but his response rate is just not computing for that. He's sending 200,000 emails a month, and he's getting like 6 responses. And it's like, man, even if you're sending shitty copy, you should at
Yeah.
least be responses of people telling you like, hey, F off, I don't want to talk to you. At that amount of emails that are going per month. So I'm going to be working with that guy. We're gonna run one of my systems at the same time that his Thor's hammer
Mhm.
system is running, and we're gonna test and see, okay, like is it the copy, or is Thor's hammer reporting a deliverability thing that's not necessarily correct?
Yeah. Okay. No, that's awesome. So I mean, the setup sounds pretty good, and I'll go through and make sure, like, we're recording this, so I'll make sure everybody's got a copy. That's funny because we're about to launch our own ESP. I mean, we've got a few that where like we couldn't just go and build this on top of like Mailgun or something because it's cold email. We do
Yeah.
have, it's called Audience Send, and I'm going to start allowing people to get access and give it a try. Um, we're not an email company, but I think it was like we want to provide people the best possible way to do it. Um, so I'll talk more on that, but the setup, yeah, that sounds pretty. It's a pretty simple setup. And then one thing with your so you got the intent list, you got your setup. That first email, I think a lot of people would probably ask this is what kind of personalization are you doing on that email, or do you even bother with personalization?
It depends. It depends. So I'm going to use the guy that I was talking to today as a perfect example, because he showed me his email copy, and what I think he was doing is something that worked, that somebody did like about a year or maybe 2 years ago, and it
Mhm.
worked flawlessly. They got tons of responses from it. They got a ton of business from it. And then people caught on and everybody started doing the same thing. And then people from India and Pakistan started doing the same thing. And now you get, at least me, I get probably 60, 70 messages in my spam folder every single day that are the exact same format that this guy is using. And what I have learned that has kind of stood the test of time is if you can make the email sound genuine, which is fairly easy to do nowadays, especially with AI, and use spin tags and everything, so you're getting that email deliver or email variability that's not getting your system caught up in the spam folders. But if you can make it sound genuine, like you are actually writing that email to that person, it's going to do a lot better. So I with this guy, it's funny, he's actually in the commercial lending industry, which the case study that I posted and that you posted in the group was also in the commercial lending industry. What I did specifically for that client that I was sending emails for was, the emails that were going out sounded something along the lines of this. It sounded like, hey, John Smith, I just saw I was just on LinkedIn and I saw your business. We're just going to call it, John's Mechanic Shop. And I had a couple of really good ideas of how a cash injection could help that business. I'm wondering if that's something you'd be interested in talking about.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah.
That
That
would set like that is going to generate so much more than, hey, I saw, you're the owner of XYZ. We offer this, as long as your emails don't sound like an advertisement. If they
yeah.
don't sound, like a sales pitch right off the beginning, if it sounds like you're genuinely saying, hey man, I'd love to talk to you. I have some ideas and I'd love to work with you, then you're going to get a much better response rate.
Oh, 100%. Okay. So yeah, 5,000. So you said 5,000 leads and you generated 23 deals closed. Is that right? Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That's 23 deals closed. So not even appointments,
Now,
actually.
I do also got to say that, we hit these people on both email and LinkedIn at the same time. So,
Ah, cool, cool.
for the second email that went through to that group of people, it said, "Hey, I sent you a message and a connection request on LinkedIn." So we had the what's it called, the automation happening there, so where it sent the first email and then a couple days later it sent a connection request with a message, and then the next email was, hey, I also sent you a message there on LinkedIn. And this guy's personal branding was on point. That's another thing that a lot of people don't put a
Mm,
lot of emphasis on, that they should, is their personal branding. If you're John Smith and you're let's just say a life insurance agent, but nothing on social media shows that you are the subject matter expert in XYZ life insurance, it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter how good your personal email your email marketing is. When people go to look at who you are, they're going to look at your website. They're going to look at your social media, and if none of that stuff, I'm sorry, if all of that stuff isn't on point,
mm.
then they're not going to consider you a professional.
Yeah, that's
So
interesting because we've got a few people and guys ask questions and I'll kind of vet these and I can throw them in. But a few people, they're getting fantastic clicks. They're sending emails. The intent is resonating. It looks like there's a lot of people clicking and they're not unsubscribing, but it sounds like they might actually be clicking the website. And then based on that, they're kind of figuring out whether they want to reply or not. So do
yeah.
you have a landing page that's specific to the reason why you're reaching out? Like, would you say it's good to have a landing page where it's like, here's all my case studies and or something like that, or do you just have an authority site, like just your website?
For me, it's just like, yes, I have a landing page, and
Mm,
it's more or less just kind of like a sales funnel. For me, I have people look at my Facebook and my LinkedIn, because I've gotten to the point where I want people to go into business with me, not with my product or service, because I know that I can keep that person as a client for months by building that relationship, as
mm.
opposed to just being a data provider. So
Yeah.
that's my personal strategy. And when I'm taking on clients, I will disqualify someone as a client, even if they have money, even if they want to pay. I will disqualify them as a client, especially when it comes to email marketing, um, if they don't have their personal branding on point.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. How do you, as a, data as a service, because, I always talk about you've got like consultants and then you've got integrators, agencies, and full stack. And I did a post yesterday because I've started making a lot of intros to different people in the group. Um, because I find that consultants, when they're like, I just want to consult, often end up promising stuff of agencies. And they're like, now I'm running cold email and doing that. I mean, what would you classify yourself more as a full stack agency and then you hybrid that with being a consultant?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, strictly because how do I say this? Like, every business needs the services that an agency provides.
Mhm.
So what makes that agency different? And for me, it is that consulting. It's being able to provide that strategy, being able to say, hey, how does that personal branding look? Being able to recognize all of this stuff that should be there. So I
Yeah.
mean, I've seen very, very good marketing agencies just straight up fumble. And in fact, I'm working with one right now. These guys did the marketing for they did the marketing for Zappy Chat. They've done a little bit of marketing for Go High Level themselves. They've done some pretty huge marketing contracts with some big companies, but they're fumbling when it comes to this t-shirt company. And I'm not going to say the name of the t-shirt company, but They're fumbling when it comes to the t-shirt company, and it's because they're trying to do the same thing for this t-shirt company that they were doing with Zappy Chat and Go High Level. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah, no, that's it's to be very different. So yeah, that extra layer of it's almost like what I see with a lot of people when they're doing the consulting, when they're like, I want to do DaaS, I want to do data consulting, is there's so much that you can do in terms of refining the client's offer. And if you stack that with the data, that's a very, very good offer. Um,
you know,
I think what some people do, and is they will position the data as, hey, this is going to fix everything, and the person has a terrible offer. And what happens is they'll run it and it won't work. Then they'll be like, oh, the data's bad, or that the client will be like, oh, this doesn't work. Whereas if you positioned it as the data's kind of your entry point. It's like, I have your audience, I've got exactly who you're wanting to target, and no one else does. But you've got every contact point as well. And then it's how are you going to target them? And then the client might be like, oh, let's do cold email. It's all right, well, let's review your offer. And if you do it that way, I find that the obstacle kind of becomes the upsell, because it's like, all right, well, now I'm going to build out your whole cold email system, and I'm going to consult with you at least once a week to build out your offer. And it sounds like that's what you're doing, which is phenomenal, because I think that's why you're getting such good results.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. A lot of times I have probably 3 to 5 calls a day where people are like, yeah, I'm interested in the data. And then my next question is, okay, cool. I mean, I've got the data, but what are you going to do with it? What for? Because I can give you 500,000 people that match your exact client avatar that have the buyer intent. How are you going to reach out to them? What's your offer? What are you going to say to them? Like all of that stuff. And most of the time, the answer is like, "Oh, well, we've got Johnny over here in our sales department that's gonna email them and call them one by one." And I'm just like, no. So, like I said, I do a lot more disqualifying than qualifying. I'm sorry, disqualifying than taking clients on, because in the beginning I took on everybody that I could, and I almost ruined my reputation because the people were like, "Oh, the data's bad," and then I'm like, "Well, what'd you do with it?" "Oh, we called the first 20 people on there." It's like, I gave you 2,000 leads. You called 20 people, and you're judging the entire data set off of your 20. So I do encourage everybody that's on here, don't accept everybody as a client unless they have the systems in place. The data should supplement what they're doing, not replace what they're doing.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice. And I think based on whether you're going to be a consultant, integrator, agency, or full stack, you should really align the sophistication level of who you're targeting. So if you're wanting to stay in the consultancy realm, the best client to work with is clients that are already working with other data providers. So like literally just grab the identity resolution in market, or I think we have one for Zoom Info too. I'm not sure if you've played around with custom models yet, but the level of detail you can get into with competitor brand targeting, like even competitors that we have that like are very small, we're still able to build a custom model around those. Um, and I definitely want to get more training on the custom models, because it's lethal. I think if you can get a custom model and then you get it to work for a client, that client will just stay with you forever, because the minute they go away, so does the custom model. So have you done anything with custom models yet, or are you still working mainly keywords and pre-mades?
I'm going to be honest, man. I've only been using the keywords. The keywords is the main one. About 85-90% of my clients I use the keywords for,
Mhm.
and then the pre-mades. There's only a couple of clients of mine that fall perfectly into those pre-mades.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, I'm using the keywords for the majority. I haven't had a chance to play around with the custom models yet.
Yeah, the keywords. So because we have it's almost like not a debate between everyone in we have about 4 data scientists now working our models, and the biggest thing we see with keywords is maybe in like let's say 2022, keywords were like, yeah, like keywords are the best. But then as we started, I mean, if you look at AI in terms of where it was 2 years ago to where it is now and how smart it is, we're seeing the same thing in terms of behavioral models. Like if you feed certain things to an AI for the learning models, they will find your exact audience. Um, and nothing really beats a robust description that you can have in terms of doing that. I think with the keywords, we're trying to combine it where it's like the keywords are also able to combine with the descriptions because there's so much context that you miss out on just by putting in a keyword. It sounds like your keywords are using more like long tail or seed keywords. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I'll put some in the chat so you guys can
yeah,
see what I'm,
I'm mad. Someone messaged me
uh,
yesterday and like, do you have some more training or keywords for V3? And we do, but I think it's it's entirely contingent on the industry, which is it sucks being that I think that's just the classic marketer thing, right? It's being like it depends, but it really does depend. Okay.
so yeah, I just put that in the chat there. This is for for one of my wellness clinic clients. They're trying to do more like hormone therapy, TRT, menopause kind of support and stuff like that. And this is for one of the lists that I pull for her. This is what I use, and you can see there that's a lot of long tail keywords. So maybe you can tell me. Those long tail keywords, are they more effective than just saying like testosterone replacement therapy?
I just reposted it. You guys should be able to see that. So I think with the keywords, the way that we started to rebuild the keyword model in V3 was specific to how you would want to do it. Because before you couldn't really paste a bunch of keywords, you had to just type them one by one. Um, the keywords we use like a type of embedding format. So instead of just being like let's say solar for an example, and we have data around solar, but in terms of how we classify it internally, it wouldn't be solar, it would be like renewable energy. And when people put in keywords, it's like they want to find these audiences from solar, but it might not mention that exact thing. So we found exact matches wasn't working well. Contains was kind of weird too. So we focused on more of an embedding type route where what we do is we add like there's like a scoring system for every single keyword. So when you type in a keyword, even if it doesn't have the exact match, it's still going to look at the scores and the semantics. So I think that's why when people are saying I put in a keyword in the keyword builder and the audience was huge, it was different. Like they go to Google and they're like, oh, there's 600 people that look at this keyword every month, and I put in the keyword planner and I've got 50,000 people. It's because we're taking semantics too. So it can work for you and against you, I think, and that's what I always try to explain with keywords is if it's like in your use case, it sounds like it's working for you because you can put a bunch of keywords in and then it's obviously creating like a scoring system and uh getting the best data through. Whereas, I have some people where they're doing like something very, very hyper specific and they model it based on the keyword planner. It's I think it's so different because there's semantics involved. So like if you just go to the keyword planner on Google and you're like, well, this keyword has 600,000 searches, I should put it to audience sub and then it also has 600,000 searches. It's going to be very different because we're looking at the semantics of things. We're not just looking at like, does this, because when you're classifying 200 billion behaviors, you're not looking at just the keywords in the URL. You're looking at the actual content. Um,
Mhm.
One other thing which is going to be cool is when we're starting to look at distancing, and I don't think we've pushed it through yet, but there's a certain distance somebody could have to the content. Um, so there's a ton of good stuff there that we're kind of silently putting through on the back end with the keywords, and it's cool that you've been able to crack that. It sounds like um, yeah, you're putting in these keywords and it looks like it's hitting the right scores. So now you're getting that right data through. Um, that's awesome, dude. So in terms of, so we've covered I guess the emails that you're sending, the setup. It sounds like you're doing a lot of cross channel, which I think is sick. I did a
Yeah.
workshop no, I think it was like last year, and it was talking about like every time you reach out from one channel and then cross to another channel, it's almost like compounding. So it sounds like
Yeah.
with the LinkedIn, so you send an email and then you add them on LinkedIn and then you send a follow-up email.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Um, that's a good strategy that we like to use. We actually, my agency, we have a service that is, strictly just appointment setting on LinkedIn. But when we pair that with email marketing, or when we pair that with like Facebook ads or if somebody's doing cold calling and we're able to do LinkedIn and cold calling for them. I'm sorry, we're not doing cold calling. They're doing cold calling, but we're doing the LinkedIn for them as well. It seems like the results from them just working together, like you said, cross operations, it seems to compound both of them. They're not gonna, if you're getting 50 results and 50 results here, like 50 conversions here, it's not going to be 100 when you put them together. It's going to be like 250 because they're working together in tandem, and it's working a lot better.
Yeah, no, that's huge. Have you tried any like uh warm calling? So you send, let's say, you send your emails out, and anyone that's clicked, you can just look it back and say like, oh, well, this is their number. And then it's almost like usually for warm calling, you want to focus on not the mobile, but the actual business number. I find works best. It actually works good with gatekeepers, and just be like, I'm just following up on an email I sent yesterday for such and such. And they'll be like, oh, let me check. And they'll be like, oh yeah, here it is here. And then you can kind of book in there. Have you ever tried calling as well?
I have done, I haven't done it in a while, but I'm actually launching this for a network marketing company in the travel space. This guy's got it's got 250,000 leads, and we're going to be when I say leads, I mean like 250,000 people that he's worked with in the past over the last 20, 30 years.
Mhm.
Um, and we're going to be doing ringless voicemails to them. So it's going to be text, ringless voicemail, email, wait a couple days, and then like LinkedIn if we have it, and then the same thing, email, text, voicemail. And we're going to see how that goes. I think it's going to work pretty damn good, especially since he's able to say, hey, I own this network marketing company now. I know you worked with this one. Would love to have you check out this one. I haven't done it in the cold space yet, kind of how you're talking about. I haven't done it. That's a really good freaking idea, to say, hey, I'm just calling about an email that I sent. I think that's genius. Somebody in here is talking about AI calling. I think that would be a good idea as well. But you got to be careful with that stuff because if you're doing cold dialing, especially with AI, you
Oh
might
yeah.
land in hot water there.
It's
Um,
a it's such a gray area. So we've got a few people crushing it with AI calling outbound. I think business wise is, I don't know, I can't really give an answer in terms of like if you're going out for businesses and it's a business context. The thing is, somebody's mobile number for their business could also be their mobile number for the personal. We do have the Skip Trace business, which is like the offline, and that's where we're actually pulling stuff from Yelp. But we find that if it's a big corporation, that it's going to likely just be the same record, or it's going to be the corporate office, which may or may not work well. I find that usually works better with small businesses. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I definitely see, like, even if you were to send out an email to 10,000 people and like one person replied, but you had like a bunch of clicks, you could look at those clicks and just call those people, and you can actually book a ton of people doing that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it AI calling. You can literally just have an appointment setter do it. Um, with your LinkedIn and your cold email, what are you using to connect those two so that you email somebody and then you hit them up on LinkedIn?
So I'm using a gray label platform for the LinkedIn. Um, it's called Sales Connector. Um,
I think I've heard
so
of it.
what's cool about them actually is that it's completely done for you, and it's done for you more than my done for you is. Because my done for you, when I do email marketing, if somebody responds, I leave it up to you to respond back.
Mm.
But for them, it's complete done for you. They fill up your calendar on LinkedIn, and that's their only job, and they only charge, I think it's like $1,200 a month. So when I work with them, what's it called? People pay less, but by working through me, I have an arrangement with them basically. But that's who I'd recommend for LinkedIn. Their software is pretty damn cool, and I'm actually working with them to see if we can integrate the intent data into their business model. But
Mm.
software I use for LinkedIn. And then for email, like I said, I'm using Reach Inbox with Zapmail.ai. Or if somebody wants to do massive volume, then we will use our own SMTP servers.
Yeah, that's cool. So Sales Connector, I've heard of them. I've connected them. I think having the intent segments matched to the LinkedIn would be so cool. Um, and I don't even know, no one's really done that yet. Um, have you used the data and your own strategies? Have you used that to generate clients yourself yet?
Yes, and I mean, man, I have so many, I have a lot of people reaching out to me about the data, so I haven't needed to really do it for myself,
Hmm.
but using it for my clients, and the best one that I can think of right now is that travel agency MLM. I gave them a list of what's it called? Travel agents that are actively looking for corporate travel deals. And then I also gave them a list of HR reps that are actively looking for corporate travel type of packages, type of deals, booking stuff like that. And this guy is using a similar system to Sales Connector. He's using, I think it's like Octopus CRM
Oh,
.ai.
yep.
And this dude is booking clients like no other. Like, but he's got his personal branding all dialed in. He's the owner of the MLM, so it really helps that he's the owner. But
Mhm.
man, he's crushing it with the intent data on LinkedIn. So I'd recommend that if your LinkedIn is built out, you got your personal branding built out on LinkedIn, use the intent data for sure. I see someone in there say, I got to be a product of the product. Yeah, I mean, I could be a product of the product, but I have a lot of inbound stuff that I don't
Yeah.
necessarily do cold outreach.
Where no, it's funny because all our so we actually because everyone's like broad. Everyone go broad for Facebook ads, and we were like, well, let's just try it. Let's just try broad, and our costs absolutely like shot up. It was like $400 an appointment, and I was like, what the hell? Like, what's going on? And then we switched it back to the intent, and it just went right down. But it's because for some people, when they use intent data for ads, it goes up, but then they have a better close rate. So it's have you experimented anything of ads, or you focus mostly on outbound?
We've done ads. I have like 36 case studies with ads. Yeah.
God, okay. Just casually mentioning that. 36 case studies.
36
Can you
case studies with
can you
ads.
give
Yeah.
us an example of one?
Sure, sure. Let me pull them up. I actually had my had my VAs put it into nice, cool little case study things and put it
Yeah.
all into a document. So let me pull one up. I'm sorry, not 36. I have 36 case studies total. About two-thirds of them are with ads. The other two-thirds, or the other third is with SEO that we did for some clients. But so pest control. Let's look at pest control. We were able to, with $1,000 a month ad spend, we decreased their cost per lead from $133 to 47.
Oh, that's
Um,
amazing. And did you use keywords for that?
we did, yeah, we used keywords for that one. And it was all like pest control near me.
Mhm.
Since they were in Arizona, we did like scorpion exterminator, stuff that's kind of native to that area that people might be looking for online, and that's what we used for the keywords.
Oh, cool. Okay. And then were you that sounds like a local campaign, or was it local or national?
That was a so we pulled the data nationally, and then
Mhm.
we refined on the Facebook ads manager side to local. Which when I was first coming on with Audience Lab, that's what one of you guys told me to do: pull the data nationally and then refine on the Facebook side
Mm.
for local.
Yeah, it's about you want to get it the most out of Audience Lab possible, and then inside the Facebook Manager. Are you using lookalikes, or are you doing just straight up to the audience?
We were doing straight to the audience and split testing with the straight out to the audience didn't perform well. We had
Yeah,
to
no,
use
it's too small. I think, well,
it
Facebook,
was way too small. But when we used 1, 2, 3, 4, and
yeah.
5% like audiences, it really, really helped.
Yeah, because we ran we do a lot of stuff with the code team. It's called Breaking the Copywriter's Code, and they have a thing called PPC. We're gonna do some more workshops with them. But we ran a test where we took, a lookalike they've had performing very well for like years and years and years. And then we tested against a lookalike we created from the data. And there was like a 1% overlap. So what that means is when you build a lookalike from the intent data, you're getting a completely different tier of audience than you would if you do a lookalike from just people that go to the website or watch videos or something.
Yeah.
So, and then yeah, so I think the ideal stack is you have your seed, but then your seed is updating every day. So the lookalike should just get stronger and stronger and stronger, and then you can really just scale that way and then keep adding to it. But man, it sounds like you've got a really good operation going on there. Damn.
We're trying, man. We're trying. So it's yeah, like I said, we're doing full service marketing. I've got a great team behind me. So we're able to service PPC, Facebook ads, LinkedIn lead generation, and email marketing. Those are kind of our verticals that we stay in.
Mm. Well, where are we at with time? So does anyone have any questions? I'm assuming everybody has lots of questions. Well, I can moderate this, but yeah, this has been awesome, man. You've got some awesome stuff going on. Jaden, who's not really Jaden, says, are you doing anything on PPC?
Yeah, yeah, we're doing stuff on PPC. Yeah. What we're doing for PPC is more on the YouTube advertising side. So we're using PPC, but on the YouTube side. So we're I guess that's more programmatic than anything else. We're
Yeah,
running it through platform, but it's running into YouTube. And since the data comes with a lot of Gmail information, we're able to run ads directly to those people when they're watching YouTube.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah. Okay. So just to clarify that, so what you're doing is you're building intent list, you're matching. I think with Google Ads, you have to have the data hashed, I believe. So are you just doing the encrypted SHA-256 personal and then uploading that? But then you're actually able to target those people, the exact people you want through YouTube videos. That's so cool. And then do you find because with Facebook, obviously you have a small audience, they massively up the CPM. But with YouTube or like Google Ads, are you finding that you could have a very small audience and still be able to target them?
Um, most of the clients that I've worked with for PPC are a little bit on the larger side,
Yeah.
but and when I say larger side, I mean like these guys are the clients that I've worked with are like HVAC companies for like that are operational in the entire state of Arizona.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. Okay.
They have multiple locations, and we were able to pace it out like that. But yeah, I do see that with a smaller audience, it is working a little bit better than with Facebook. With Facebook, you really need a huge audience, but with PPC, since you are able to market directly to them on their Gmail like YouTube account, because Google owns YouTube, so you can market directly to them on YouTube. I'm seeing that work pretty well for us
Oh,
across the
that's
board. We're kind
yeah,
of we're lowering CPL across the board by about 40 to 50%.
amazing. Yeah. No, I think it's really cool because a lot of what we're talking about today is so we started with Coldie, but we're talking about cross channel. So um we're about to finalize our V3 integration suite. So we've got about 10 tools, so to speak, that we want to start pushing out to sync it through. Google's one of them. And then we're looking at things like obviously instantly and things like that. So the future of it is being able to identify the exact audience of a client and then just sync it out to all those tools because they all can compound on each other. Um, I think that's a really cool strategy of what you're doing with YouTube. So if you guys are watching this and you need to activate the data on ads and it's a very small audience and you want to keep it small, you don't want it to look like or something, run ads for YouTube and programmatic, like a display. And that's an awesome strategy. I think someone said, I had a client that wanted to use Google Ads, but they were told they didn't have enough access to the capability because they weren't spending enough. I think it's like a certain spend across the lifetime of the Google Ads account before they allow you to do custom lists, right? I don't do a ton of Google, so but it shouldn't be more than 50K. No way. It should be like 20K across the whole ad account for Google Ads.
Yeah, that
Um,
doesn't seem. I don't know. Reach out to me. I'm happy to chat about that. That doesn't seem correct.
yeah, that doesn't seem right. You should be able to for that.
No,
Um,
but yeah.
Heidi said, Brandon, we live in the same town.
We don't though. We don't because LinkedIn says I live in Arizona. I don't live in Arizona. I live in
Oh,
Cancun.
okay. Okay. Yeah, that I'm really glad you said that because a lot of people they expect the addresses on LinkedIn to be the same as the addresses as offline.
Yeah.
And they're not. Because particularly when you're dealing with like small business owners too, like somebody who started their flower shop at home and then they opened a flower shop in, the town square and they never updated their LinkedIn. I'm glad you said that though, because that's why we have the offline one. But
Yeah. No, I haven't even lived in the country for over 2 years now, over 2 or 3 years.
yeah, you live
So
in Mexico. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, but but yeah, I'm for everybody that's on here, I'm happy to chat and have a conversation with you. If there's a way we can do business together, great. If you guys, I know I just gave you guys all the systems and tools that I use. If you guys talk to Sales Connector, the owner of that company is his name's Wes. Uh, do me a solid and tell him that I sent you there, please.
Yeah, you should
You
we should
know.
we should get them on. I mean, they sound like I've heard of them. I haven't personally used them myself, but it sounds like using the intent data in things like LinkedIn and stuff is an absolute. I have heard actually another guy said he's been getting stacks of appointments using it in LinkedIn. And I think having it where you were to do like LinkedIn and then email and then call would be so cool. Because that's really the idea. I think that's one of the biggest things and where we're heading really as everything's getting more competitive. It's not just Facebook, it's not just Google, it's multi-channel. And a big value point for being a DaaS agency to your client is being able to go multi-channel. I've got another guy um, who was doing like a 10K retainer plus equity for a huge company. And one of his value propositions was not just increasing their revenue, but it was increasing their market share because they were just relying on one channel. And he's like, well, we have the data now and we can just put it everywhere. And then we can go on different channels. So Sales Connector. So I'll speak to you about that because maybe we can do something cool there where, there's a ton
Yeah,
of people probably want to do that. Um,
sure.
all right.
Yeah.
Any more questions, guys? This is crazy. Usually people have well, I mean, we've had a few questions, but it usually comes later. I usually just check my school and I'm like, dear Lord. Um,
Deal. Well,
Jaden, who's not Jaden, says, will deeper use of personal emails? Yes. Is a different protocol for personal emails than it is for business. Um, the catch-all API that we built that goes through and does yes, the answer is yes. It's just a different protocol. So I think we're about 2 weeks from going on to personal as well. And that's when we're going to do, because like I said at the beginning, I think when we look at like what business are we in, we're in the data business, yes, but there's also this whole side of activation that we're trying to show you guys domino by domino. We'll start off with cold email and then you can look at ads and then you get into LinkedIn and some other stuff. And then it's really like, and then getting multi-channel. Is this process working when targeting on the B2B? So yeah, this is commercial lending, I think. Right, Brennan,
yeah.
that you were doing?
For the case study that I had was on commercial lending. Um, I, I I can't say that I haven't done a split test in other industries yet, but what I can say is that when I'm using the Deep Verified across the board, I'm getting around a 5 to 10% reply rate. Do not trust the open rate at all, especially if you're using tools like Instantly, Reach Inbox, and whatever. Don't trust open rates because the email service providers are going to open up the email to see what's inside of it before it gets sent to your actual client's inbox, and it might and it usually gets misread as an open, so it's a false positive there. So when you get 70-80% open rates, don't trust it. Go off of the reply rate alone. Somebody asked how many emails are in my sequence. I am finding as time goes on that the volume of people I talk to is more important than the amount of times that they're getting talked to. So I might have 1 to 2 people or 1 to 2 emails in the sequence. Like as long as it sounds genuine, like, hey, I'd like to, for this example, see what a cash injection could do for your business. I have some ideas. And then the next one might be like, hey, I sent you a what's it called? A connection request on LinkedIn. Did you happen to get it? I'm still interested in talking to you. And if they don't respond after that, don't waste your email credits. Just move on to the next person. I'd rather talk to 10,000 people once than 2,000 people 5 times. A lot more outbound.
With that's actually one thing I want to ask as well is when you're doing the cold email and you build an intent segment, are you then going through and just making sure you have all the right titles? And then with the titles, are you just doing, founder, co-founder, president, and going that way?
Depends, man. Depends. Your system is interesting. Usually I can get by with doing CXO and VP.
Okay.
But sometimes I have to actually go in and unclick those, leave the seniority blank, and
Mhm.
have the job title be owner, founder, or partner, and then that'll grab the actual people that I want.
Yeah,
But
no, it's a thing. So because I honestly believe that the scraped in data from LinkedIn, I don't find is as good, and we don't really base a lot of titles on there anymore. Our stuff now in terms of the B2B, it's a similar process as like Clay uses in terms of where we get our B2B data, because the titles and the way that LinkedIn categorizes or their subcategories for like seniority and things, it's a bit weird. So we still pull those tags when we were doing stuff with LinkedIn, but I find that the titles works a lot better. I think it's very, very cool that you're doing B2B and intent. And I think that's awesome because you've got the business email and you've got the personal email. Like there's just so much cool stuff you can do there. Um,
yeah,
One more question is for the people that have been sending emails that are getting, maybe great clicks, but they're not getting the replies they want. What would you say to that in terms of something they should do there? Or the
copy.
leading problem.
It's the copy, 100%. It's the copy. Um, yeah, I would say look at your copy, and if you're I mean, you can have AI help you with this, or you can get on a call with me. But basically, what it boils down to is, does your email sound like a sales pitch? And if the answer is yes, in any way, shape, or form, it's your copy. If your email sounds genuine, like you're actually trying to reach out to that person and you'd like to have a conversation with them and build a relationship, your response rate's going to go through the roof.
Mm.
I did have an issue, not an issue, but I did have a client where they said, hey guys, we're not getting any responses. And then we looked at the copy that we had all agreed on, and we saw that the goal of the copy was not to get a response, it was to drive them to a website. So of course
Yeah.
we weren't getting responses because they were going to the freaking website. And we were accomplishing the goal because that client was was doing a large scale. I think we were doing 500,000 emails a month for them. And we were driving every week like 3 or 4 thousand visits to their website, just from cold email. And when
Yeah,
they came
that's
out,
a
you're not
really
getting any responses. It was like, yeah, of course we're not getting responses. They're all
yeah.
going to your.
No,
So
that's I think yeah. One thing that I'd love to know as well is because when you're doing a cold email, you always have a little thing at the end, like if you don't want to hear from me, reply no. Are you doing that or do you not do that?
uh, yeah, I'll just say, hopefully nobody turns me in for this. No, we're not doing that. No, we try
I'm
we try
asking
to
the
make
hard question.
yeah, we try to make it sound so genuine that it's like, oh, this person actually found my information and actually
Yeah,
sent that
yeah.
in.
No, it's yeah. I mean, it's the only reason to really do that is because you just don't want people to put you in spam. But it sounds like your emails are so good and you're refining your list that you don't really need to do that. I don't
Yeah,
think.
Rachel is saying so no unsubscribe link either. No, we leave the unsubscribe link on there. Reach inbox, and I believe Instantly does it too. They have a little box that says, "Hey, do you want to include an unsubscribe button?" And we do leave that box checked, so that is on there. But we aren't saying things like, "Hey, this is from an email list. If you want to be removed, click
Yeah,
stop or whatever." We're kind of
that
just doing it.
definitely, yeah, kills. I get like, oh gosh, probably like 10 emails a week of companies like, hey, we want to invest in you guys, and then it's like remove you from your list if you need. I'm like, what? Like, this makes no sense. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's debatable on that. I don't think it's because it's B2B. It's not against canned spam to not have the I mean, I have to check this before I say this on a recording, but I don't believe it is like against can spam on B2B because it is a business email. It's more so when you're doing personal email, but personal email, I find the opposite um, is the quicker you show them that, hey, this is a promotional email, you get better results that way. Because if you're doing personal email and you're going like, hey, I found you on such and such, that's when people get like really weirded out. But on the
Yeah.
on the business context, it's rewarded in the sense of like if it's the more personal, the better. And then if you're doing like B2C, it's funny because there's so many campaigns I reviewed where people applied the same level of being personal that they're trying to do in their B2C to their B2B, they'll get better results. And if they moved over the promotional element from their B2B to their B2C, they'll get better results. But yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I think but my landing page was not good, so no course. Yeah. Awesome, man. All right, we're gonna. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say you mentioned in the beginning of this call that you do know people that are doing it more like a newsletter, and thinking about it now with my marketing hat on, yeah, that would be the only way that I would do B2C is pushing stuff out there. For I'm going to use pest control as an example. Hey, hey John, this is so and so from Pest Control Company. We're reaching out to everybody in Maricopa County. The seasons just changed. These are the different types of pests that you can expect to probably come out now that the seasons just changed. If you'd like to have a conversation about how you can prevent this from being an issue for you, let us know. Or even not even including that call to action, just saying, hey, this is what you need to look out for, and having it just be an informational kind of thing to build trust. That's what I'd recommend doing as well.
Oh yeah, it's we had a workshop a while ago, a guy called Nick Lucas, and he was doing a lot of newsletter stuff, and he built his newsletter to be so big that he didn't really know what to do with it, and he was going to sell it, but he didn't really know where to sell it. He was like, I could have made a ton of money monetizing it, and he's kicking himself because he didn't sell it, but he just launched a medical product, and he's got this crazy like brain thing that's probably it would kill me if I said brain thing. It's this really niche product, and he's building a newsletter for it. So we're gonna kind of do a bit of a ride along and take people to show exactly how to do the newsletter strategy because it is super powerful to do it the newsletter. But if you're doing any kind of B2C cold email, you're building a newsletter, right? That's basically what it is. You're not the first probably 2 to 4 emails is literally just getting clicks and seeing if people would be interested in a free thing, and then you're moving them over to Beehive and then running a newsletter. So I think
Yep.
unless you're prepared to build a newsletter and do it right, if you do it right, it's awesome. I mean, we were even doing it for B2B, like Landon. We did a workshop about a year ago, or maybe 6 months ago now. And he was doing B2B newsletters. So he was basically having as like a promotional email, but he was running it as instead of like, hey, book a call, it was just, do you want to join this newsletter? And he was absolutely bringing in leads. And it was,
Good.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you think about the power of that to have like a newsletter, like we were, this is still something that's like pending. We were consulting on it. I don't know if we're going to still pursue it just because in order to go that next step, I have to actually get a license for, I don't remember what it's called, but it's a license to ask people if they want to invest in something. But it was like it was these guys trying to raise, I think, $21 million. And we were consulting on it. And we were like, well, we can find all the people that are looking for like active investments and build a newsletter off that. Like that's the newsletter strategy is really, really cool, but you got to put in the work. Otherwise it's not going to work. So I think we're going to do some more of that. Probably in the next few weeks is we're just going to just build a newsletter in front of you guys and show you like here's how to do the newsletter strategy. But if you do that for B2B for some of your clients, you could book more, but then you can just sell the newsletter later and you can get a good multiple for like a, I don't know, if you had like 50,000 people subscribe, 50,000 subscribers on a newsletter, you get a decent multiple.
I'm helping a client right now. He has a newsletter that sends out around 200 million emails a month.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a couple different newsletters, but the total email sends about 200 million emails a month.
Mhm.
And man, I am so excited for this guy because I think I was saying earlier before, I love networking with people, and I was able to get him in touch with quite a few different advertisers and people to do soft marketing and direct marketing through his newsletters. And this guy's going to make a ton of money doing it. So he's going to monetize the shit out of his newsletters. He's not making anything anywhere near what he should be. If you
Oh
guys
yeah.
have a newsletter, man, I would love to consult on those projects, man. I love talking to people that already have an audience, and teaching them how to monetize it, and even connecting them with the people that can help them monetize it.
Oh yeah. No, it's I think there's someone here who's doing it as well. There's a bunch of people in DAS and that there we go. Yeah, it's I won't get you in to speak, Laura. I will one day. But Laura, who's here, was crushing it with a newsletter, getting about 1,000 people a day as subscribers or something along those lines. So it's a really, really cool strategy. But man, that's awesome. So look, we'll wrap up. I guess one thing I'd love to know is, what's one piece of advice you'd give people that are new to DAS and they're looking for like, I guess the quickest win, or they're not really sure who they want to target. Like, what's one piece of advice you'd give them?
People who are new to DAS and not really sure what to, okay. I would say that you need to kind of pick one of two lanes, and that lane is either going to be, in my opinion, are you just selling straight up data, or are you providing are you providing a service that's going to level up that business? I would always recommend figuring out how to position your branding and your offer to be where you're working with that client, building a relationship and helping them grow their business as a whole, rather than selling just a service. Because people can go on Upwork and Fiverr and whatever, and they can scrape leads and get 100,000 business leads and contacts all day long, and they're gonna pay bottom dollar for that. They're gonna pay like 0.1 cents per lead, and you're not gonna make any money doing that. You're gonna have to get a lot of clients in order to make money doing that. I personally find that bundling together a list of services that use traditional marketing, your Meta ads, your Google ads, your email marketing, LinkedIn, whatever it is, bundling those services together and using the ads as both not the ads, the data as a hook to bring people in because it sounds very interesting. But the data itself is not the product. The data itself is not the service. The data is being used as a supplement to the traditional marketing services to make them 10 times better. That's what I would recommend. Use the data as a hook, though, because that's exactly what I do on my social media. Hey, I can find everybody that's looking for XYZ. Do you want this data? And then it just opens up the door for conversation.
Oh yeah. Well, it's what everybody wants. I mean, it's so, and when you show them in front of them and you're like, hey, we've got your audience. How do you want to target them? It opens the conversation to they're like, well, what could I do? And then you can be like, we can do email, we can do a cross promotional campaign between like ads, cold email, and an appointment setting. You know what I mean? And that's where you can really just level up above everybody else. So
Mhm.
no, that's really cool. And I think as well, guys, if you're like, well, I don't want to do services, I just want to stick to consulting and give people data, then reach out in the group and find guys like Brandon who love doing the service part and upsell your client. And then you still have that relationship because you could literally there's a few ways you could do it. You could be like, okay, so I'll give you the data and I'll consult once a week to help you build your offer. And then I'll bring in an integration specialist who can help you build out a whole cold email setup. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
I would love to see more consultants work with the integrators work with the agencies, because there's so much you can do. I think yeah, it
Yeah.
gets me excited. But man, it's been awesome. I'll put out this recording, toot sweet. I think there's been some really cool stuff mentioned here. I'll try to transcribe it and put this into more of a blog, because I think we covered so much good stuff. But you're crushing it,
Yeah.
dude. That's really cool. I want to um I've got some new beta stuff I want to show you and see how you go with that too, about the targeting. But yeah, this is fantastic. So
Yeah.
thanks for
Thank you
coming
so much.
on, Brandon. And thanks for joining us, guys. People got, how do they reach you? I'll actually leak his personal. No, I was kidding. I guess in school, maybe we'll make a post if if you want to work with a guy like Brandon to help with the agency aspect, I suppose, fulfillment. Yeah, we'll post in school and you can reach out to him there. I would love to
Facebook
get.
as well. I mean, if you post it in school, I'll put my Facebook link on there. I'm on
Oh, yeah,
Facebook.
just do that.
I'm
Yeah,
on
yeah.
school.
Whatever you're
Um,
comfortable with. I wonder if
so
we have your details in the audience. No, anyway.
so I just threw my Facebook link in
Oh,
the
cool.
chat there if you guys want to reach out to me there. Facebook is my bread and butter. LinkedIn should be my bread and butter. There's more money going on LinkedIn than there is on Facebook, but I don't know. I've been on Facebook for 15 years at this point, and I've been using it to make money for the better part of a decade. So I'm a little bit partial to Facebook.
Love
But
it. I don't have
for those of
Facebook.
you that don't have Facebook, just school is fine. And shit, man, I guess any other way, I guess I could throw my email on
Yeah.
there.
Well, we'll post the recording, and then yeah, if they want to reach out, go for it. But yeah, if you guys like more stuff like this, let us know what you want to see. We're just gonna do it domino by domino, I think. So we'll start off cold email, and I'll just keep showing you guys how to activate the data in different ways, and then by the time we get to it, it'll be like 2 years, because there's a lot of ways. But awesome. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This has been fantastic. Also love the brand name, All Said Things Data. That's freaking cool. And yeah, we'll be following up with you for sure. I want to see a nice little exit from you one day.
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. Awesome. Thanks, guys. We'll see you
Great.
next time.
All right, guys. Peace.